Hey guys, this is me, Kevin Murphy, on my channel called Narcissistic Abuse, Learning Who I Am Again. In this video, I want to talk about bitterness in regard to narcissistic abuse. So the term bitterness is defined as anger and disappointment at being treated unfairly and a sense of resentment. So I am doing a video on bitterness because I myself have been experiencing a lot of bitterness as of this last week or two, from just things that I've been thinking about in regard to my abuse and things that have happened to me with the narcissist. And during our journey, we're going to experience bitterness. We're going to experience that anger. We're going to experience that rage, because once we get healthier and once we start to realize what has really happened to us, we start to feel this sense of anger because we don't understand exactly why this person who claimed to love us, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our significant other, whether it's our parent, did us the way that they did. And we can cognitively rationalize the fact that, yeah, they're narcissistic and, they have a personality disorder, but emotionally that doesn't really do a whole lot for us unless we put the effort in to really heal our emotional wounds and to get the support that we need in order to move on. So cognitively, we know that the narcissist is very selfish. We know that they are not capable of loving us, whether it's our parent, whether it's our significant other, or whoever the narcissist is in your life. But emotionally, it took a toll on us because we invested so much into that relationship. If you had if your spouse was a narcissistic abuser, or your significant other was a narcissistic abuser, you invested your time, your energy, your money, if you have children together, you invested, you co-parent together, you've invested so much energy into that relationship. And when you were codependent and when you were unhealthy, you realize you were blinded to the fact that they were narcissistic. You were blinded to the fact that they didn't love you, or they weren't capable of loving you the way that you needed to be loved. Now that you have opened your eyes to what has really happened, because even though you were codependent, you still knew something was wrong. And that's how you ended up becoming a narcissistic survivor and going no contact or low contact. You came to a conclusion that something was wrong. But a lot of us survivors don't want to come to that reality that the very thing that we invested our soul, our love, our life to, our finances to, really did not love us. We really didn't get anything out of that situation or that relationship but pain, misery, misunderstanding, and bitterness. And so what happens is our soul starts to become very angry. We start to become very upset, and we become bitter. And when we become bitter, we're giving that narcissist more supply. As the bitter we get, the more angry we become. And so I want to talk to you guys about ways to channel that bitterness and to release that bitterness and to really soften your heart, because bitterness will only hurt you. The bitterness will not hurt the narcissist. The bitterness will only hurt you. It will hurt your relationships with people. It will hurt just your soul. You will get sick. You'll become emotionally disturbed. All kinds of things will happen to you if you continue to live your life filled with bitterness. And so, one of the things I want to talk about too is how bitterness can make you become something you don't even recognize. So for me, I've always been a compassionate person. I've always been someone who loved other people, and I still do. And before I knew anything about narcissistic personality disorder, I was incredibly compassionate. I was pretty much a doormat. I let people walk all over me. I wanted people to love me. I was a people pleaser. I was a typical codependent. And so codependents are known to be very empathetic. We take on responsibilities and things that are not that we shouldn't be taking on. And so as my journey progressed and as I continued to learn more about narcissistic personality disorder, I learned, yes, I was getting healthier, and yes, I was gaining an awareness of why I went through the abuse that I did. And cognitively, I came to terms that my father was a narcissist and that he was abusive toward me, and that these things happen, that the reality said it, that my dad was not the good parent that he portrayed himself to be. And he was not the good parent that I portrayed him to be. He was in reality a person who was broken, who shouldn't have had children, who was in attempting to raise myself and my brother out of his own brokenness. And I ignored that fact. My mother ignored that fact. And so as I started to gain realization of what really happened to me as a child and what happened to me throughout my childhood, I started to become bitter. I started to become bitter with myself because for years I've allowed myself to believe this lie that my father was this good provider, this good parent, and things like that. And I'm not saying that my father did everything wrong. I'm not saying that it was all bad. It's never all bad, and that's why it's so hard for us codependents to break away, because the narcissist isn't all bad. The narcissist has its days where they're going to give you those emotional crumbs. They're going to tell you that you're a great cook. They're going to tell you that you're a wonderful person. That's what makes it psychologically devastating, is because the fact that the narcissist there are days where they will treat you nice. And that's what was happening to me. There were days where my narcissist would treat me nice. There were days where my narcissist would say that he loved me and that he would be there for me. And then there were days where I was getting beat with belts and brushes and hands and fists and things like that. So there's a confusion that happens when you come to terms of what has really happened to you. And you start to become bitter and you start to become angry because you're not understanding, why did this person who claimed they loved me treated me this way? Why did this person who claimed to be my dad or my mother pit my sibling against me? And they're supposed to be, contriving solidarity. Instead, they're contriving separation, isolation. Those are things that I had to come to terms with cognitively, but emotionally, it still messes me up. And I'm pretty sure you viewers who have gone through this kind of abuse, whether you had a narcissistic mother, whether you had a narcissistic father, both your parents could have been narcissistic. You could have had a narcissistic spouse, a narcissistic boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. It is hard to come to terms with the fact that these people never loved you. It's very, very hard to come to terms with that, but you have to. You can't just come to terms with that cognitively, but you also have to come to terms with that emotionally. And the only way that you will be able to experience real healing is not just going no contact, but to also come to terms with the fact that this person never did, doesn't, and never will love me. They will never respect me. They will never see me for who I am. And I have to learn to be okay with that. And that's where the bitterness will diminish. The bitterness will also diminish when you take the time to go back and to validate yourself and journal and tell yourself, I am a good person. I did not deserve what has happened to me. You look yourself square in the eye in the mirror and say your name and tell yourself, Billy Bob or Sue, whatever your name is, did not deserve to be treated the way that I was treated. My parent, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my friend, whoever was the narcissist in your life, has a personality disorder. And I am not the person that they said that I am. I am not weak. I am not gay. I am not stupid. I am not an idiot. I am not whatever personal slur or attack that narcissist has labeled you as. I am not any of those things. I am a survivor. I am strong. I am loved. I am cared about. I am valued. And I am worthy. And you have to tell yourself that. You tell yourself that in the mirror. You write those things down in your journal. You have other people in your life that are helping you, keeping you accountable, who are pushing you into the right direction, and forming a support system that will help you go to the right direction that you need to go is very helpful and will also diminish that bitterness. Because another thing us narcissistic survivors will not do or have trouble doing, we have trouble accepting help from other people. We have trouble accepting other people being nice to us just because of who we are, because we're not used to it. It sounds it sounds crazy, it sounds insane, but it's the truth. We are so used to that intermittent positive regard. We are so used to that sweet mean cycle. We are so used to emotional crumbs that when someone is ready to give us the whole cake, we don't know what to do with that whole cake, because we have learned and we've been conditioned to accept emotional crumbs, and we've been full with emotional crumbs, or we try to convince ourselves that those emotional crumbs fill us up when really we deserve that whole cake. And so we have people in our lives that are willing to give us that whole cake, but we unconsciously push them away because we have been conditioned and we're so used to accepting mediocrity and crumbs and mediocre behavior. And that's why we dump people who are the good girl, the good gal, or the good guy, or whoever, because I've heard a lot of people talk about, why does the girl go for the bad boy? It's probably because she was abused by her parents. It was probably because she herself went through narcissistic abuse. So her mind is conditioned to deal with narcissistic abuse. Her mind is conditioned to accept the fact that he's cheating on her. Her mind is accepting the fact that, oh, he hits me because he loves me, or he curses me out because he really wants me to stay in the house. He really loves me, and they equate that to love because that was their normal. That was what they grew up being exposed to. And so you have found this channel, you have found other channels, you have learned that, okay, I've been abused. A lot of you have decided to go no contact with your narcissist, but that's only half the battle. It doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop with you going no contact. What you have to do is you have to be proactive in preventing that bitterness, because it's going to come. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel a sense of injustice. You're going to wish that your narcissist was dead. Speaking from experience, because I wished that my narcissist was dead. And what happens is, when you're bitter, you start to become a person that you don't even recognize. And and I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. For me, I'm a very compassionate person. I've always have been. And I will give the shirt off my back for people, sometimes to my own detriment. And when I started learning about narcissistic personality disorder and narcissistic abuse, I started to feel a sense of peace that, okay, so this makes sense why my father was, crazy, and why he did the things that he did to me. But then that anger and that resentment toward him started to build. And as a result of that, my heart started to harden against him and against other people, against the flying monkeys, against the codependent, my mother, against all of the other people who were involved in this dynamic. And I started saying things like, I want him dead. I would, praying that he would die, praying that I would never see him again. And it shocked me because I'm like, this is not the kind of person I am. I am not that kind of guy. I'm not the kind of person who's wishing death on someone. But that's what bitterness will do to you. It will change your whole perspective, and it will make you into this person that you don't even recognize. And the way to deal with that is, and I've said this in a video a long, long, long time ago, probably back in the beginning, maybe early February or late January. And you have to you have to come to terms with what has happened to you. You have to forgive yourself because the abuser has conditioned you to make you feel that something is wrong with you, and you have to forgive the abuser in your life, or the abuser that you went no contact with. Again, you're going to have to forgive the abuser that you went no contact with, and the abuser who has been physically, mentally, verbally, and psychologically abusive to you. And you're not doing this because you want to get back in their good graces. You're not doing this for them. You're doing this for you. You're releasing that bitterness. You're releasing them out of your system, and you're moving on. And it's a lot easier said than done. And this is why I suggest going to a good therapist who knows a lot about narcissistic personality disorder, who knows about personality disorders in anyway, who knows a lot about forgiveness and inner healing and things like that, because that is what will help you release that bitterness. And if you don't have insurance, or if you feel that you're in financial dire straits financially and you're not able to get a therapist, I would call different therapy offices in your area. I would ask about sliding scale. I would ask about different resources that are available or different hotlines that might be available for you survivors who are financially tight and don't have insurance. It has helped me because I didn't have insurance. I still don't have insurance, but I was able to find a therapist who has helped me deal with this stuff, has helped me deal with narcissistic abuse, and it's out there. I mean, I've paid as little as $20 a session. So those resources are available. I will go on Psychology Today. I will Google different therapy offices in your area, and I will tell them your situation, tell them where you are financially, and to just ask for that help. And in the meantime, I would continue watching these videos. I would continue watching other YouTubers who talk about narcissistic abuse. Because you're not alone. Even though you feel alone, you might have cut contact with your narcissistic parent. You might have cut contact with the flying monkeys, with the codependents, and all of that. And you might feel completely alone, but you're not alone. You do have support. If you don't have support in your immediate circle, you definitely have support. You have support in me. You have support in other YouTubers who know about narcissistic abuse, and other ways where you can get even more support from someone like myself is please email me. Email me any questions, concerns, requests that you have, and I will do a video, and I will do my best to help you come full circle with this, because this is not easy. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not someone who's licensed, but I have been around the block, and I know a lot about narcissistic abuse. I know a lot about narcissistic personality disorder. I came from a whole family of narcissists, so I know. And this is one of the hardest things to heal from. I would say it's probably easier to heal from crack cocaine than to heal from narcissistic abuse. So just realize that bitterness is only going to hurt you, and it's going to keep other people away from you, because they're going to feel that negative energy that you spill off, and they're going to be resistant to you, and that's something that you don't want. You want to attract healthier people in your life, not so you can latch on to them, but because you want to grow and be a bigger and better person than that narcissist has labeled you to be. So thank you so much for watching. I give a special thanks to my subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, for being supportive to me, by watching my videos, by subscribing to my videos. I really want to be of support to you guys in return by having you guys write to me, give me your requests. Email me any questions that you have. If you don't want me to do a video on your situation and you kind of want to keep private and you just want to email back and forth, that's totally fine too. I can email you back any kind of questions you have, and share my experience in relation to whatever question you have. And you can also state that in the email that you don't wish for me to make a video on what your request is, and that's totally fine. But just please email me, or leave a question at the bottom. I'm going to put my email address again in the description box. My email address is kevinmurphy28@yahoo.com. Again, that's kevinmurphy28@yahoo.com. So thank you so much, guys, again, for watching my videos, and please stay tuned for more of them. My name is Kevin Murphy, and thank you again, and I hope you guys have a good evening. Bye.